Yo, is anyone there? Sorry for my tardiness. If anyone's waiting, and if anyone's watching, can you please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and hear that? That would be amazing. Just had a few technical issues. Yeah, cool. If anyone's watching, I've just had some technical issues. Couldn't get the camera on my iPad to work. First world problems, I know. So I'm going to use my phone. Can you give me a hello if you can hear me? If you can hear that, just give us a thumbs up or something. That would be awesome. Hey, thank you very much indeed. Right, cool. So yeah, apologies for being late. As I said, a few technical issues and whatnot. If you can hear the guitar, fantastic as well. It's kind of important, I suppose, if we're doing a guitar lesson, that you can hear the actual guitar. Just give it a couple more minutes, see if anyone else pops up live. If not, we'll get started as soon as. Yeah, or have you got any questions or comments? Fire away. So they've changed the way that Facebook Live looks again since last week. So this will be interesting. Hey Tom, how you doing? Pop us a comment, mate. Let me know how this is looking so far. They've changed Facebook Live layout again. So I'll have to get used to that, but that's all right. Not a big problem. I'll just see if anyone else turns up. That's what we're going to be doing today. All about chords. All about the chords. Cool. I think we'll just get started. So, what we're going to talk about today is introducing the cage system, which essentially is nothing more really than just a way of visualizing the neck and exploring the notes on the guitar. It's nothing to worry about. But I do think it is a useful system for us to look at and for people to get used to using. I know other people use other systems and other ways of visualising the neck, and that's absolutely fine. But my philosophy is don't be limited to one thing. Be open-minded to a few different approaches and you might find the one that works for you. And secondly, people don't play guitar in systems. People make music on guitar, or at least that's what I hope for everyone. That you actually just use the instrument to make music and be creative and to play the sounds that you hear in your head and to play your favourite songs and all that kind of stuff. Not to worry about whether you're using the right system or not. So anyway, this is a interactive Facebook Live lesson. So if at any point anyone has any questions or anything, or anything they want to raise, just go ahead and pop it in the comments. And I have no script, no real agenda for it. It's absolutely fine if you just want to ask me a question or ask for clarification on something that I've said. You want me to repeat myself, then that's absolutely fine. So yeah, it is interactive, so it'd be cool if you do have questions that you need answering. Please don't be shy, just pop on board and pop a comment in and let me know what I can help you with. Don't be shy. Even if you're a complete beginner to it, that's absolutely fine. If you already know a little bit about the cage system or you're completely fluent in it, just stick around anyway, because there might be something that you'll find interesting or something you didn't know. And of course, if you it's the same as anything in life, really, isn't it? If you don't ask the question, then you don't know that you might be helping someone else out with it. So, my tummy rumbling. It's getting near tea time, I can tell. Right. So, wow, that's a lot of thumbs up, an explosion of thumbs up happening on the screen there. That's awesome. Right. So the first thing we're going to get into is like obviously what the cage system is. So where the name comes from is 5 chord shapes. So you have a C shape, an A shape, a G shape, an E shape, and a D shape. In addition to that, did you know that you have a C minor shape, an A minor shape, a G minor shape, an E minor shape, and a D minor shape? And you also have sevens and extended chord versions of those. So for example, you'd have a C7 shape, an A7 shape, a D7 shape, an E7 shape, and a D7 shape. As long as you can play those chords in the open position, I think you're going to be absolutely fine. Don't worry if you don't even know like what a C minor shape is or a G minor shape or any of that kind of stuff is. We're going to get into that as we go through it. So I suppose the best place to start is just with the shapes themselves. So I don't know who's going to be watching this, so I'm just going to go right back to basics, right back to school here. So you have a C shape, an A shape, G shape, would help if I turn the volume up. Where do we get to? C, A, G, E, and a D shape. So we have those 5 basic chord shapes, and as I said, then you have the minor and the 7 and all the extended versions of that as well that you could use. But for right now, let's just go with those 5 basic major chord shapes: C, A, G, E, and D. So if you have already been moving chord shapes around, or if you understand at the very least that you can move chord shapes around, then this is going to help. Because have you ever tried to experiment with just moving, like say, a D shape around the neck? So playing it here, playing it here, playing it here, playing it here. Or have you taken something like a bar chord shape, for example? Of course you have. You've taken like the standard E shapes and the A minor shapes and the A shapes and moved those up and down the neck. Well, there you go. You've covered 2 of the major shapes already. So if you can move like an E shape up the neck with a bar chord, or an E minor shape up the neck with a bar chord, or an E7 shape up the neck with a bar chord, or an A shape. That's how I do my A shapes, by the way. I'm just really lazy. I take shortcuts. I can do it like that. Just sounds a bit messy when I do it. Sausage fingers maybe. So there's that A shape, major, minor, A minor, 7. So I'm obviously not playing an A major, A minor, and A7. I'm playing the chords at the 3rd fret there, and that's giving you C major, C minor, oh, sorry about that, C minor even, C7. So that's with my human capo, if you like, at the 3rd fret. Hopefully that makes sense so far, and it also shows that you can link it to something you already know. And like I said, most of you watching this can already do that, like no problem. It's just how often do you move, for example, a C shape around the neck. So if we take the C chord shape, which I'm going to play with these fingers because I want to keep my index finger free to do the human capo with. So, oh god, there we go, struggling already. And making it sound bad too. Right, so if I move that up to here, so now I've basically budged my C chord up 2 frets. So what chord am I playing now? Still a C shape, but it's moved up 2 frets, 2 notes if you like. So D sharp moved up to D. It's also the first chord of Under the Bridge by Chili Peppers. Which again, if you were looking at chords, like the chord charts for, not the chord charts, but if you were looking up the chords for a song and it said that the first chord in the song was D, you're going to assume it's that one, because it could be that one, or it could be that one. So again, trying to get across the importance of knowing the different shapes, because although technically you're playing the same chord no matter where you play it on the neck, because it's the same 3 notes or it's the same exact notes wherever it is on the fretboard, there's clearly a difference in sound, right? So you've got the open D sound versus that. So what I've done there is obviously played the D chord in a C shape. I nearly messed it up then. There you go. So that's a D major, but I'm using a C shape. So I suppose the first thing to do is to take that one chord, in this case a C major, and explore that all over the neck. So what I'm going to do first of all is go back to the original C major shape. Probably one of the first chords you ever learnt. Wasn't for me. I was I still am a rock and metal guitar player, and embarrassingly I didn't learn about things like open chords until after I'd been playing for a while, because all I ever played was like riffs and power chord stuff. So as a little aside, like, this system isn't just about playing chords over the neck. It is, as I said before, a way to visualize the notes all over the guitar in the form of chords, but also all these chord shapes that we're looking at have scales linked to them as well. So that'll be helpful later on down the line for you as well, hopefully. Right, so let's take the C chord, just take one chord, and we're going to move it around the neck. So we have C in the C shape. We have C in the A shape. Well, you've probably already been doing this one. So that's going to be the 3rd fret on the A string, which is the C note. And then you'll notice that I'm doing the A shape here. It's going down here to the right. That's that wonderful. I can't do it like that. I'll do it like that. It's easier for me. Right. So that's the A shape. Right. Everyone's favourite. The dreaded G shape. I mean, there's probably not going to be that many times when you have to play a C chord, or any chord for that matter, in this horrible, disgusting shape. So hopefully you guys can see that all right. What I'm doing there is I'm playing a G chord shape here, starting on the 8th fret. So the 8th fret is where the C note is on the E string. My chord shape is going down to the left there, like a normal G chord does. I'm using my human capo to bar the 5th fret, and then, as I said, I've got the G shape here. I'm also stalling because I'm wondering how crap this is going to sound. Oh, it doesn't sound too bad. So when people are learning these shapes, that's one that most people avoid, which is absolutely fair enough. And like I said, how many times are you actually going to use that in real life? But it's important to at least be able to visualize where that is on the neck. Trust me on this, because it will all become apparent once you start putting all the pieces together with the other chords and linking it with scales and all this kind of stuff later on down the line. Don't worry about it for now. And also, don't worry if you can't quite wrestle your fingers into that disgusting chord shape. It's absolutely fine. I struggled with it too for ages. Tom's popped something in the comments. It says, the G one is nice to do. Are you being sarcastic with that, I wonder? Or do you actually enjoy playing that shape? I don't know anyone else that has ever said that. If you're not being sarcastic, that is. Anyway, there you go. The dreaded G shape. Cool. Then we go to the E shape. One thing you might have cottoned onto as well is the order in which the chords are going is obviously spelling out the word caged. C, A, G. So the next one's going to be E. And the E starts on the E string. The E shape starts on the E string. So you're going to do the E bar chord, the E major bar chord, 8th fret, human capo. I'm sure you've done that chord a gazillion times before. Tom says, no, it's a fun shape. Cool. You enjoy wrestling your fingers into that shape. I don't particularly like using that one. As I said, I've not found that many applications for it in songs, but it is important to still learn that one. So we've done this one, which was the E shape. And finally, we've got the D shape. Now, you might have also noticed that obviously the shapes that we've been using, C and A, have their root on the A string. G and the E have their root on the E string. So the D shape is going to have its root note on the D string. So the C note on the D string the C note for the D string is the 10th fret. I'll get my words right in a second. The 10th fret on the D string. So what that means is you can kind of do it like a bar if you want to, and then you do the D shape, the D major chord shape with the other 3 fingers, and then you have this. It's a really cool high-pitched, almost ukulele-esque sounding chord. Some people don't bother putting the root note on the D string, they just use that little triangle triad shape for the D chord and don't bother playing the D string. It's up to you, but you need to be able to visualize that the root note is on the D string and it'll be the 10th fret for this chord. So as long as you understand that, that's fine. It's the same with like the G shape. As long as you can visualize it, it's fine. So I think what I will do, I will share a document with the chord shapes with this video as well, somehow. And or if you want a copy of the chord shapes, just let me know. Cool. Right, so let's just recap those 5 chord shapes, moving them up the neck. So what we've done is we've taken one chord, C major, and moved it through the C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. So we have C in a C shape, C in an A shape, C in a G shape, my favourite, C in an E shape, and C in the D shape. There you go. So if you're looking to just have a little bit more of an understanding about that, then just take one chord, move it around the neck, just so you get familiar with that idea. We start with the C. You can start with any chord you want, really, it doesn't matter. So following on from that, let's take the D chord. We'll start on the D shape this time. So what happens when you start on a different chord? So if we start on the D, it means that the next one would be C, and then A, and then G, and then E, and it would follow on like that. So it always spells caged. So we're going to start down in the open position with our open D chord. Apologies for the slightly out of tune guitar as well. How unprofessional. There we go. So we've got D shape. Now we're going to play a D chord in the C shape. So this is the chord I did earlier, the under the bridge chord. The next one will be D using the A shape. So I'll go to the 5th fret again on the A string, and then I'm going to go this way. I'm sure you guys all recognise that one, no problem. So that was the A shape. Now it's my favourite again. I'm going to do the G shape. So I need to go to the root, which is the 10th fret on the E string. That's where you'll find the D note. And then do the G shape. Human capo is going to go on number 7. Surprised that came out quite clean. Nice. And then we go to the 10th fret again, but this time we're going to go down to the right here, and we use the E major shape. Just playing a normal D major bar chord. And then we're going to do one more, we'll just do D again. All the way up there on the 14th fret, but the root will be 12th fret on the D. So at any point during this, if you're watching and you're thinking, I don't know where the root notes are for these chords, it's kind of like a separate thing really. I think knowing where every single note on the guitar is a great thing to aspire to have, but it's not massively important to know at this stage, and it's more of a long-term goal for most people. So if you know where a few notes are on the E and the A string, then you're good to go, as long as you know where all the natural notes are. So for example, if you follow the odd numbers, so the dots going up your neck, G, A, B, and then you hop down to the A string and you've got C, D, E. So you've almost covered the musical alphabet there, apart from F, which you probably already know is the 1st fret on the E string. So therefore, it must be the 8th fret on the A string, going up 1 fret there from the E. How's everyone doing so far? Give me a thumbs up if I've not sent you to sleep so far with this explanation. Hope it's all good. Cool. Awesome. Right. Cheers for the thumbs up there. So, what this is obviously enabling you to do is you can now play, if you've followed it along so far and you get it, you can play any major chord anywhere on the neck. So you can take any of those 5 shapes and move them up the neck. And you can take any one chord and move that up the neck. Should we do another example? Let's just do E. So we're going to start on E. So the first one you would do is, I mean, when I'm practicing stuff like this, I would encourage you to do this too, is just start as far down the neck as possible. So if you're doing scales and chords and mapping them all out all over the neck, it's sometimes beneficial to start right down the end, especially if you're doing this kind of working out this system. So our first shape is an E shape for our E chord. So what comes after E in the cage system? Well, it's the D shape. So now we're going to play a E major chord in a D shape. So that would be here. The root is the 2nd fret on the D string, and then you've got your little triangle D chord here, so you can play it like that. Or, like I said, if you're lazy like me and you just want to do it like that, that's absolutely fine, but please remember where your root notes are. So on the D string, it's going to be the 2nd fret. So so far we've done the E shape, the D shape. What comes after that? Well, we're back to the C shape. So that would be 7th fret, the 7th fret on the A string, doing the C shape, human capo there, which is on fret number 4, and you have that. So we have the E shape, D shape, C shape, next one's the A shape, again starting from the same place but going down to the right. So we have an A shape here to play our E major chord with, And finally, everyone's favourite, especially mine, the horrible G shape, which is there on the 12th fret. Beginning on the 12th fret, you're barring the 9th fret to give you that lovely chord in that disgusting shape. Cool. So if everyone's sort of happy with that explanation of moving one chord around the neck, we can go on and we can look at doing some chord progressions with major chords. If you're happy with that, just give us a thumbs up or whatever. Remember, this is obviously interactive. If you've got any questions or whatever, just fire away. Doesn't matter. We're doing it live. We're winging it. We're improvising. It's fine. And of course, don't be shy, you know, if you do have any questions, because you might say something that someone else was thinking or someone else was too shy to ask. That's the good thing about doing these kind of lessons live. No, all good. Right. So the next thing to do is, I mean, once you've kind of got a feel for that and you kind of get the idea of moving one chord around, it's not actually a massive jump to kind of experiment and try with other chords. Oh, hey Darren. Oh, thanks man. Yeah, it's a bit bright, isn't it? A bit leery. Sort of matches my personality, I suppose. Matches the arm, definitely. See that? Cool. Right. So yeah, let's take a chord progression, and we'll move that up the neck. At any point, if you get lost or whatever, just say, "Oi, slow down" or whatever, and I will do that. But I'm going to take 3 major chords from the open position and move them through all 5 shapes up the neck, hopefully without messing it up. And we'll see how we get on. So we need to use 3 major chords that sound really good together. You can use whatever chords you want really, but I think it would be best to keep them in the same key. Again, if you don't know what any of like keys and all this kind of stuff means, don't worry about it. Just pick 3 major chords that you know that sound really good together, and you play them down here in the open position. And then your mission is to move those 3 chords up the neck through the 5 shapes of the K system. So again, I think it's probably a good idea to start on a C chord. So we're going to play a C chord, and then we're going to play an F chord, and then a G, and then we're going to go back to C. So C, F, G, back to C. Now, there's one chord in there that's worth mentioning because we are already using the human capo to play that shape, right? So an F chord is always, well, not always, the F chord in this position anyway. There's no such thing as an open F chord. That is it. An F chord is a bar chord. You're taking an E shape and you're moving it up 1 fret with the human capo to give you that F chord there. The other variation of that is this one, right? So you've got, starting on the D string, you've got 3rd fret, 2nd fret G, and then you do the mini bar on the 1st fret on those 2 strings. So that technically, I know it's a smaller chord, but that is still an E shape. Hopefully that makes sense. It's still an E chord, but you're just playing the bottom 4 strings. Or top 4 strings, I should say. Get it right. And then when you move that up 1 fret, mini human bar, capo there, gives you that. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, shape-wise, what's going on there when you play a C, an F and a G is this. C shape, obviously. not an F shape, right? It's an E shape. And then G. And then we're going to go back to C. So I'm pretty sure you guys can all do that one. Don't worry if you can't. There's no judgment here. C, F, G. So if you are playing along at home, which I encourage, then just make sure you can do that first of all. C, F, G, C. Like I said, don't worry if you can't. I didn't play proper chords until I was at least a year into playing. It was all about the metal. Right, happy with that. So the next thing to do is to move that chord progression up to the next section, if you like, of the cage system. So that means we're going to be starting on an A shape. So we have C using the A shape. I'll just throw my pick on the floor. Retrieved. Right. Okay, with me so far? A shape, playing a C chord. Then the F chord is going to be played using the D shape. How did I arrive at the D shape from there? Well, there's two ways. One, I picked the nearest one because I want to stay in that section of the neck. So I just played the F using a D shape. But also, the previous version of the F chord was an E shape. So I know that next in the spelling is the D shape. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up or an angry face if it doesn't make sense. Hopefully it does. And then our next chord was a G. So I'm going to stay here in this 3rd fret position and I'm going to play an E shape. Again, why is it an E shape? Because it's the nearest one. It's in that little block of 4 frets. So it's kind of obvious that it's a G shape, or a G chord there. It might not be, but if you're in doubt, then it follows on from the fact that you did a G shape here to an E shape here. So you're following it not alphabetically, through the spelling of the caged system again. So G followed by E. Clear as mud, I'm sure. All good so far? Right, awesome. So far we have this. Remember, our 3 chords are always going to be C, G and F, or C, F and G, wasn't it? Sorry. So C, F, G, back to C. Move up to the next position. Cool. Next one, everyone's favourite, the G shape. So we're starting our C chord on a G shape. Anyone want to guess what the next chord is going to be? What shape? No, everyone's like, no. So it's an F chord in a C shape, followed by the G chord in a D shape, and then back to that horrible one. Shouldn't call it that. Cool. So each time when I go through it, I'm just thinking of like going back to when we did our moving the C chord up and down the neck, what shape it would be. So it's a C shape, an A shape, a G shape, and then playing the chords from there. So the next one is an E shape. So C in an E shape. The next one's going to be F, and that'll be in an A shape. Again, it's the nearest one, isn't it? And then G in a C shape. Finally, made it all the way up through the system pretty much. The next one's going to be C, being played as a D shape. So again, we find the root note, which is going to be the 10th fret on the D string. We're going to do our little triangular D shape there. The next chord is F, so that's going to be the horrible G shape. And then G in an A shape. And then back to C. So, hopefully that made sense. If it doesn't, then hopefully you can go back through this video and watch it again and again and again until it does. But honestly, the best way to get these shapes under your fingers and this understanding is just to experiment and just to keep using it and kind of just make it like part of your theory practice, if you like, or start it as a warm-up, because it certainly warms up the older brain as well when you're trying to figure all this stuff out. And I think that's where people get really confused. It's like, hang on, I'm playing this chord in this shape, and it's making that distinction between the shape and the chord, because I think what gets drummed into us from the start usually is this is a C, this is an A, this is a G, and all that, and that's cool, but it's also just a shape. And if there's any shape you can do here, you can move it up the neck, provided you've got enough fingers and you can use this finger as a human capo. There's always a way. So for every chord, there's tons of variations you can do. There's tons of different voicings of major and minor chords. Remember, major and minor chords are just free notes. So if you're playing them on a piano, for example, you're just using 3 fingers and just playing them. Whereas on guitar, we've kind of wrestled our hand into all these complicated shapes to play pretty straightforward harmony kind of stuff, which is just playing notes at the same time. So, speaking of which, let's look at the minors for the cage system. Now, how often do you play a C minor chord in the open position? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not that often. The good news is, if you know a little bit of theory, it's going to help, because the difference between a major and a minor chord is just one note, and it's the third in a chord. So let's take C. We've got, oh, not that note, C, E and G. Again, it doesn't really matter if you don't fully understand like and know every single note of every single chord. It doesn't matter. That's sort of the beauty of this system as well, is you don't need to necessarily know every single note of every single chord. If you think of it like shapes that you can just move around, as long as you know where the root note is, you're good to go. In this case, when we're switching from a major chord to a minor chord, we need to be aware of what a third is. Oh. Only possibly with hammer-ons, not otherwise. Hammer-ons with what? What do you mean? Explain yourself, Darren. What do you mean? I'll come back to you in a sec. So, C major, you change one note, change the third. In this case, this gap here, this interval here, sorry, is a major third. No, so I was happy. If you lower the third, so basically drop it down by 1 fret, you flatten it, gives you the minor. So this has become a C minor. Now don't play it like this, like you normally would with the C chord. Don't hit that high E because it sounds disgusting. The reason is because you've just changed that E note into an E flat. So I play C minors like this. So 3rd fret, 1st fret on the D string, and then I play the open G. So I just play it like that, like a 3-string chord. So that's your C minor. If you want to add in the C note up there on the first fret of the B string, you can do that. You just got to sort of change the way that you do it a little bit. So I would do it like that. Okay? The main bulk of it is just recognising this, the change between major and minor. Now the cool thing is you can do that with another chord that you're probably not familiar with, is G minor. So again, I'm going to assume that there's not many people that play a G minor chord in the open position. If you're going to play G minor, usually most people would do the bar chord, 3rd fret right, do the E minor shape, and do it like that. Or you might do it here as an A minor shape. Okay? So again, the good thing about knowing the basic open position minor chords is you can move them. But again, most people aren't familiar with things like C minor and G minor. Some people don't even know that they exist. I'm pretty sure I didn't know that until I went to college and learned about stuff like that. But the same thing that we did with the C major chord to the C minor applies with this, the G. So here's a G major, here's a minor. So I'm just taking this note, sorry to swear at you there, down to there. Okay, so that's a G minor. So we've got 3rd fret, 1st fret, open, open. So if you think of that as a shape, you can move that, right? So if I budge that up to the 5th fret here, so that will be an A minor, I might need to adjust, well, I will need to adjust my fingers and use different ones, but what's he doing there? That is a G minor shape. But I'm playing an A minor chord. So that's frets 5, 3, 2, 2. So again, think of it like a shape that you can move around. So let's do it here. B minor, D minor. Sound really cool. So, I mean, that's one thing that you can experiment with when you're learning like a new shape, like the C minor shape or the G minor shape, is try and move that around. Just, again, experiment, have a bit of fun with it. Try and just cotton on with what you're doing there. What's happening? That's your root note, right? From a theory point of view, what you've got there is root, minor 3rd or a flat 3rd, and the 5th. Again, don't worry too much about the theory side of it. As long as you can see that it's a shape that's movable, good to go. That's what this whole system is about. It's about moving the C, A, G, E, D shapes, whether that's C major, A major and all that, blah, 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 or if it's all the minors, C minor, A minor, G minor, E minor, D minor, or if it's all the 7s or whatever chord variation it is, excuse me, you can move that up the neck. There's tons. And any open chord that you've got, you can move that. That should be exciting. That should be exciting for you. It's not a chore, it's a challenge to learn this system. And it's really going to open up the fretboard for you guys. So, shall we try an example with just minors, or should we try and do let's go back to our chord progression that we did earlier, which was C, F, G, and we're going to introduce a minor chord into that. So the most obvious one that springs to mind is C, G, A minor, F. I'll play that again, I'll shut up this time. So brownie points, extra brownie points, if you can name that chord progression, what it's commonly known as. So it's a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression in theory terms. Any takers? It's called the pop trick. You'll recognise that straight away. How many songs use those chords? No woman, no cry. There's absolutely gazillions of songs. If you get a moment, you can look that up on Wikipedia, pop trick or 1, 5, 6, 4, and you'll see how those 4 chords or like slight variations of that chord progression are responsible for like gazillions of songs since like since the 50s, I would say, since the beginning of popular music. Right, anyway, I'm waffling. So let's introduce a minor chord into the mix here. So I'm going to start with, and you can too if you're playing along at home, I'm going to start with a C, G, A minor, F. So the only chord that's not its own shape is the F chord, right? So the F chord is being played as an E. With me so far? So C, G, A minor, F. Let's take that through the system. Right, so the next one will be C, starting on an A shape. And then it's going to be G, starting as an E shape. And then it's going to be A minor as a G minor shape. Oh. Which is just going to be the bottom 4 strings. You might have heard me accidentally hitting another string there. And then finally it's going to be an F chord played as the D shape. I'll do that one more time. So remember, our chord progression is still C, G, A minor, F. But look at the shapes I'm doing. A shape, E shape, G minor shape, and then a D shape, sorry. With me so far? Haven't lost anyone, hopefully. Right, I know it's getting near tea time. So, next one, we're going to start with the dreaded G shape to play our C chord. Now, G in the D shape, A minor in the E shape, and then F in the C shape. Cool. Next up, we're going to start our chord progression on the E shape. So we're going to have C, G, A minor. Now, what's that one going to be? So from where I am here, the nearest A is going to be on the D string. So I'm going to have to do a D minor shape there. You might have come across that one before. Again, if it's like that, normally you can move the D minor shape up the neck like that. But if you don't want to be lazy like me, then you would use the index finger to play the root note on the D string, which is an A note there. So that's a D minor shape, right? To play the A minor chord, and then an F chord. So again, the only thing you really need to worry about is like, where is the root note for each chord that you're playing as you're moving it up the neck. What you could also do that might be really helpful is write down the chord progression and then write down what shape you're going to use to play the chord. I'll show you what I mean in a sec. Let's just play this last one through. So The next version of the C chord is the D shape. So we've made it all the way through the caged system, playing these 4 chords. So we've got C in a D shape. We've got G in an A shape. The next one is we've got A minor. Now that's going to be in the C shape that I did earlier. So I'm just going to play it like that on those 3 strings. Because I'm lazy. And it sounds alright actually. And then we're going to finish on the F chord, which will be in the G shape, right? What a great one to end on. There we go. So what we did there was we took a chord progression and we put it through the system, if you like. We played it in every position of the cage system, and yeah, used some major chords, some minor chords there. So again, I think the best way to do this is just kind of experiment and watch this video as many times as you want, as many times as you can handle. So I'll show you what was going on there in my head, if you really want to know what's going on in my head. So I'm going to write this down. So we took our chord progression. I hope this is going to be facing around the right way as well. So what was our chord progression? C, G, A minor and F, wasn't it? So we did our pop song. C, G, A minor, F. Da, da, da. So those are our chords. Is that the right way round? Give us a thumbs up if it is, or just let me know if it isn't. So we went C, G, A minor, F. Excuse my childish handwriting. So those are our chords that we played. Not necessarily the shapes, but those were the chords. So the first version we did a C shape, a G shape, we did an A minor shape, and then we did a E shape. Didn't we? Because there's no such thing as an open F chord. And then we went through the system. So I'm going to shortcut this. Don't need to play it. I'm just going to write it out. So C, A, G, E, D. Right? So that's going to be the next one. That's going to be the next one. That's going to be the next one. So these are the shapes. Right? So what comes after G in the cage system? E. And then D. And then C. And then A. You see what's going on here? And then it's going to be, sorry, messed up already, didn't I? A, it's going to be G minor, and then it's going to be E minor, then it's going to be C minor, and then it's going to be A minor, and then for the last one we've got to remember how to spell. So I've just shortcutted that whole process there, just written down, trying to get it so it's not reflecting in the light too much, but I've just written down the shapes already that I'm going to use. So if you prefer to do that, if you prefer to like map it out beforehand, before you practice it, then do that. That's absolutely fine. But obviously that's kind of what was going on in my head as I was going through that thing. So take your own kind of chord progressions and apply it to this system, or apply this system to your own chord progressions. All good? If anyone has got any questions, now would be a great time to ask. Otherwise I'll wrap it up shortly. If anyone wants me to go over anything again, or if you don't want to ask now, then just pop a comment in the comment section below the video and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I hope that was helpful. Again, it's a bit of a unscripted kind of improvised lesson on the cage system. Yeah, I hope that was helpful for you. Hopefully demystify it a little bit. I mean, we only looked at 2 different versions of chord shapes today. We only looked at, cheers for the thumbs up. we only looked at two chords shaped, two chord versions. Sorry, we looked at majors and minors. You could go in deeper once you've got this understanding to do with these two. Then you could look at doing it with seventh chords as well. I don't think we've got time to do that today, really. Well, we definitely haven't got time to do that today. But there's something that we could do later on. If we do like part 2, let's do a caged part 2. Let me know if you would like to see that. That would be. I'd be more than happy to do that. And also it would be good because I can recap some of the stuff that we went through today. And also, I mean, if I do it in like a couple of weeks' time or something, it gives you guys a couple of weeks to get your head and your fingers around what we've just done this evening as well. So unless anyone's got any questions, I'm going to wrap this up shortly. I'm just going to check through, see if there's been any more comments or anything. Sorry for leaning into the camera there. All good? You guys got that down? So like I said, what I'll do is I'll pop a document to accompany this lesson as well. How are we doing for time? And I was late starting. All sorts of problems going on. Technical problems, then we had sound problems, then we had Facebook problems, first world problems, and I've got really bad hay fever as well. Anyone got any questions or anything you want to say? Just ask away or say away, whatever. I don't mind. We'll see the chord guitar again. Woo. I'll play you a song. Trying to think of the chords for Freebird then. I'm not going to do that to you, don't worry. Right, cool. If there's no further questions or anything, then I will love you and leave you, and I will see hopefully some of you tomorrow for the pentatonic lesson. So I'm just doing a sort of brief introduction to pentatonic stuff again, and we're going to do it a bit like a training session. So again, you can interact and hopefully play along at home and stuff as well. So yeah, until next time, take care guys, and I shall catch you soon. See ya!